It does give me much pleasure to welcome a panel today that are going to assist us in providing a deep overview of the program. If I can ask my guests to turn their cameras on. Dr. James Abdi, welcome first and foremost, as you were quick on the button there. Welcome, thank you. If you could introduce yourself, James.
Yes, thank you very much, Daniel. Well, a very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, anticipating what people joining us from various time zones across the globe. So I'm Dr. James Abdi. My day job, I'm an associate professor in the Department of Statistics at the great London School of Economics and Political Science, to give it its full name. With regards to our amazing data analytics online career accelerator, I am one of the academics involved. I serve as one of the course conveners. I'm also sort of oversee the entire program as the academic program coordinator. Many thanks to you all for taking the time out to join this session.
Dr. James, thank you. Your enthusiasm is always infectious. I look forward to that rubbing off on the audience and their questions coming through shortly as well. Thanks, James. John, welcome. It's great to meet you in this forum and your participation. Looking forward to it. Thank you kindly. If you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. And likewise, thanks everyone for joining today. It's great to be here and to have you here as well. I'm CEO and founder of Vantage Data. We've been partnering with the LSE Accelerator program for a number of projects now, and excited to be here to discuss that further and the benefits. Of course, just a quick overview on Vantage Data and what we do. We've been around for over 10 years. We work on end-to-end data analytics projects across a variety of markets, UK, US, Europe, South Africa, and APAC as well as a number of different industries: financial services, retail, CPG, manufacturing, and into hospitality too. So happy to get into that further, of course. But again, thanks for everyone for being here, and it's a pleasure to join you today.
It's our pleasure, John. Thank you kindly. Looking forward to learning more, not only about the organisation, but the projects as well. Fred, welcome to you in another part of the world. Thank you as always.
Thanks, Daniel. Yes, thanks for joining us today. Good to meet or connect with all of you. I'm one of the career coaches. We've 20 on the program at the moment, or at least with Fourth Rev at the moment. I've got a business degree from way back, economics and marketing focus. I've spent 12 years as a corporate treasury dealer in banking, and I've done executive coaching, leadership development for the last 20 years. And I've been with Fourth Rev now on the career coach, one of the career coaches, for 3 years, just over 3 years. Obviously on the LSE data analytic program as well, or coaching on the program since June 2022. So I hope I can respond to some of your questions, and we'll see how the introduction continues. Thank you for the opportunity.
Wonderful, Fred. We'll dive deep into the coaching aspect of the program because it is most unique, and I certainly envy your job satisfaction in guiding people through to career outcomes, which as an organisation here at Fourth Rev is our true North Star metric for our business. On to the next slide. So right now, data roles are growing 9 times faster than the average job market and have been for some time. But the talent isn't keeping pace. Employers across industries, from be it travel, healthcare, finance, government, non-government, are struggling to hire people with the right mix of analytical and storytelling skills that have a business impact, obviously. That means if you can show that you've got some hands-on experience with tools that are in demand, such as SQL, Python, Tableau, and you've solved real-world problems, you're going to stand out. This Career Accelerator is designed in a true collaboration between the London School of Economics and Political Science and industry, ensuring that the content is both rigorous, as you would expect, but also in high demand from an employer perspective. Salaries are rising and opportunities are opening. This is a rare window to future-proof your career as more and more organisations adopt a digital strategy and transformation. My first question for the panel, though, is for you, Dr. James. From your perspective as an educator and industry expert, what are the data skills so essential in today's job market, regardless of someone's background or industry?
Thank you, Daniel. A great question. So, well, if you think about data, I mean, we are experiencing really a data deluge. I mean, fun fact, a few years ago, it was estimated that the sort of amount of data sort of recorded digitally was doubling sort of every 3 years. I suspect that pace has even accelerated since then. So there's no shortage of data, but where there is a critical shortage, and I would say very much a skills gap, a skills deficit, is in being able to translate that data into insights. And The Economist, again, a few years ago, queried whether data is the new oil. And they tried to give this as an analogy. And in some sense, it's a bad analogy because in terms of quantity, oil finite, environmental concerns to one side, but oil finite, data near infinite. But where I think the analogy really holds water, or perhaps holds oil, a better metaphor, is refinement. Crude oil is of limited value. You need to put it through an oil refinery to extract the value. Likewise, data. Of course, many types of data, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, but think of it like the equivalent of crude oil. And with your data analytics techniques, our goal is to extract the value such that we can extract the meaningful insights from it. And that's what really creates value. So Daniel already mentioned the storytelling element. I say that's a critical part. Data skills are fundamentally about problem solving and also critical thinking. And these are very much transferable competencies that really enhance rather than replace domain expertise. So future-proofing yourselves, I think is a great phrase, Daniel. If you invest in your data analytics skills, indeed you are future-proofing yourselves for the labor market, just of the future, but also of the present.
It's a great analogy that you do provide, Dr. James. And another one that comes to mind is that the pace of change has never been this fast, yet it will never be this slow again. And I think that hits home when considering future-proofing as well. John, I've got a question. You mentioned how Vantage works across sectors. What are you seeing as the biggest shifts in the types of data skills businesses are asking for today?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I think there's a couple of really big trends or themes that are coming up. One is, and this is a journey that we go on with all of our clients, and I think all the companies out there are working through, is this journey between kind of more descriptive analysis into comparative analysis, into predictive, and into prescriptive analysis. And what this looks like from a skill sets point of view is when you're looking at descriptive, you're thinking about what happened yesterday, what happened last week, what happened last month. And that's reporting. So that's really important. Your Tableau, Power BI, your SQL, to model the data properly, and that's really critical to get there. As you move comparative, predictive, prescriptive, that's when you're getting into your machine learning capabilities, your AI focus in terms of skill sets. And so there's a really a big I would say initiative, I think, across companies to figure out how to get down that journey, if you will, further down that journey. And what that looks like is more skill sets around certainly around the reporting aspect and being able to model data and report on it with tools like Tableau, like Power BI, et cetera. But it's also learning, understanding machine learning and AI. And then AI in general is a big theme just across. How do we automate any sort of workflow? How do we look at kind of leveraging AI not only from a team member point of view, but a team perspective? How does that look like across the organization, et cetera? But I think as was just mentioned, the biggest theme overall is the theme or need for problem solving capabilities. So understanding the tools is really, really important. Obviously, that's foundational. But understanding how to solve problems, from a first principles point of view, has, I think, never been more important, both to companies, but also to individuals. Individuals who understand that. I think that the word that the group has been using so far is future proofing. I think that there couldn't be a better word to describe that. Understanding understanding how to problem solve, taking the tools and applying them in a first principles practice way, is critical, and you're seeing that become, I would say, even more important, across the marketplace, across any problem, any industry, any use case. So.
Wonderful, and it's great insight. Fred, an important question for yourself as well, I guess, from the coaching perspective, and with so much demand out there, what do you say to those that want a career in data but are struggling with that element of self-doubt to make what is a big life decision for many, which is a career change?
Yeah, it's a very common question, and I think probably all of us are faced that at different points in our lives, especially when there's drastic change involved or big changes are involved. So I think self-doubt, first of all, would be normal. I think again for the sector, especially in fast-moving high-tech data field, I think and things kind of let's say they're changing so rapidly that probably we all get to a point where we don't quite have all the knowledge in the moment. I think one of the key points is usually, we can't know everything at that particular point, or we don't understand everything. But from the coaching perspective, it's always to look at, let's break it down into steps. And ideally, so managing the doubt is just what's the next step? What's the first step that I need to take? So that's one element of breaking it down. And then I think the other one is just to be aware that obviously a lot of people make changes throughout their lifetime in career focus. So, and we all often come from very different backgrounds. I mean, I originally had a very different background and career. I've got family who went from journalism into data science, etc. So the idea that there are many successful professionals in the field who've come from diverse backgrounds. It's finance, marketing, arts, even engineering, etc. So that's also quite normal that we do see that, and there's huge advantages in bringing that diverse perspectives and experience to the field of data. I think the other one is from a coaching perspective, the way to deal with this is to try and provide some structure with the transition process, and also to basically support the process and provide structure and order in achieving that particular goal. That's pretty much, I would say, one of the ways of dealing with self-doubt.
It is invaluable in the processes that you go through, the innovations, I think, that the coaches also implement with career sprints and things like that we'll touch on a little bit later, is a critical component of the Career Accelerator being unique. And there's a question in the Q&A, that's one point that I'll get to many that make it very, very unique and successful. So, as I mentioned at the top, it is a true collaboration between the London School of Economics and Political Science, industry and Fourth Rev coming together to create what is a program that delivers exactly what it says, the acceleration of one's career. It is education for outcomes' sake in a career sense. So firstly, obviously, and I'll get Dr. James just to have a moment of pride in the fact that recently the university rankings were announced and released, and LSE continues to shine in many respects. So another point of difference is obviously the certification from LSE. But James, have you got an insight into some of the awards or recognition that the university recently obtained?
Yes, although, I mean, speaking with my statistician's hat on, one should always be slightly cautious when looking at league tables. It's always telling, obviously, the position, the rank order of institutions, and they they fluctuate up and down. And of course, whenever you go up, of course, we celebrate it. Whenever inevitably some years one goes down a few places, then you say, well, you can never trust the methodology.
Yes.
I think it's fair to say LSE routinely appears in these sort of upper echelons of the various league tables, but we will indeed take a moment of a pride here in the Sunday Times university rankings. LSE recently ranked #1. So while we retain the top podium position, the gold medal, we will indeed celebrate that. Every university is unique, but it's very much the LSE DNA is very much integrated into the Career Accelerator.
That's a great point, and congratulations to all involved. So the program is 6 months in length. There's 3 courses and 1 live business or industry-facing project at the end. Course 1, you'll use industry tools such as Excel, Tableau, and SQL to create visualizations and dashboards. Course 2, moving into using Python to explore and visualize data and present key findings to stakeholders. And course 3, you have more advanced Python and then introduce R and statistical modeling to predict future business outcomes and make recommendations of the value that John mentioned earlier. Your learning outcomes are practical. There are no exams in the program. We instead empower you to submit mini projects and assignments throughout each of the courses that help you build a digital portfolio of evidence. That is a much more valuable demonstration of your value to a prospective employer. I've never taken an exam result to a job interview, but you will take a portfolio or link a portfolio in some way, shape or form to make it known that the skills that you've obtained, certainly. So there's a practical element to that. All of the business case studies that are used throughout the program are real business case studies as well, and used in conjunction with the employers that have assisted with the design of the content. Your learning outcomes then enable your participation in a live industry-facing project at the end that we'll touch on more deeply with John. But the value of that is working in a team. You'll be presented with a real challenge from a business, and then as a team, applying the learning from your first 3 courses. The idea is that you come up with innovative and tangible solutions to that challenge, presenting your recommendations back to the client, if I can call them that, in a consultancy style presentation at the end. The benefits are numerous in the sense that it's practical application of being in the real world. It is brilliant for networking much more deeply with your peers, but also leaders of industry such as John. And it is a much more demonstration again of your value to a prospective employer. When you're asked that question, what experience do you have? You recite the project up front, and as also Fred mentioned, that in collaboration with your transferable skills makes you a valuable commodity and high caliber candidate, no doubt, as well. I've got a question here, but the opportunity of diving into that project is on the next slide, I think, Sam. So I'll come to that in a minute, John. Sorry, I've got one for James first, and just a reminder for everyone, as we go through and as you have questions, please pop them in the Q&A. We'll get to them shortly. James, from your perspective, over a long period now, we've had literally, I think, over 1,000 learners go through. Hundreds and hundreds of learners have had obtained their intended career outcomes as a result of doing the program. What makes this program a strong fit for the demands of today's job market from your perspective?
Indeed. I mean, we've had countless success stories, and we always hold an in-person reception at the LSE once a term for recently completing cohorts. But when we had designed the curriculum, and indeed it was a joint venture between the LSE and Fourth Rev to blend both the sort of academic pedigree, if I can put it that way, of the LSE with the industry reach and expertise and contacts of Fourth Rev, such that there's been a perception, rightly or wrongly, that many universities are somewhat of an ivory tower and detached from the real world. Well, with the Career Accelerator, we had sort of carte blanche to create something special, and we were very keen about creating a sort of demand driven rather than a supply driven curriculum. And so we really are pleased with these sort of industry aligned curriculum design to reflect actual employer needs. And of the, let's say, roughly around things, 1,000 career accelerators to date, they are going off into the real world, and we are charged with preparing them for success in the workplace. And so we want to create sort of versatile professionals rather than these sort of narrow specialists. And so the curriculum very much has a real world application. You can see the employer project, the culmination where you get to put into practice the technical skills and communication skills that you would have developed through courses 1 through 3. And indeed, if I may, just to emphasize the importance of communication skills. Technical skills can easily be taught, and frankly, with Gen AI, that can get you some decent code up and running quite quickly, albeit you always need to do a sanity check to make sure that the code does what is intended. But really, where I think there's a human comparative advantage is being able to, tell stories, but stories of data fact, not fiction. And there's a strong emphasis, beginning indeed in course 1, on the creation of dashboards, data storytelling, and visualization more generally. And I'd say these development of communication skills, visual, also oral and written, through written reports, the slide deck, the presentation you give in the fulfillment of the employer project, these really are essential skills that differentiate candidates in an ever competitive market. And last point, if I may, because it is an important one, ethical considerations. there's a growing emphasis inevitably on the responsible use of data, privacy, also the detection of biases. I'm sure many tuning in will have heard about possible concerns of AI output. It's trained on data, so any biases within that training data are inevitably likely to be prevalent in the output, and especially in sort of regulated industries, the detection of biases is super important. And indeed, we continue review and update our curriculum. It's not a static thing, it's sort of evolutionary. And just in the latest cohort, we've introduced some more AI themed materials, such that we focus on indeed the ethical considerations.
That's a great segue as well. The AI aspect of the program is really, really important and of great interest. So there's on the bottom of that of those 4 segments of the slide there, you'll see the AI learning track. It is something we're really, really proud to provide learners an ongoing opportunity to engage with industry through the masterclass sessions that are held all throughout the program. There'll be 4 throughout the program. That give you the most up-to-date aspects of industry application of AI from a data analysis perspective available. It's different than, say, a standalone unit because it changes so quickly. So the industry experts and academics that we have that produce those sessions for you ensure that they're up to the minute, up to date. The other non-negotiable when we were designing the content in the collaboration was the employer requests or demands for the business application of the learning. So as James just articulated, we can learn for learning's sake, but it's that communication skill. So even in the titles of the 3 courses, course 1 being data analytics for business, it's even inbred into the title that it is a business focused data analytics program, and therefore the employment outcomes stem from that. Course 2, data analytics using Python, is more self-explanatory. And then the 3rd course, advanced analytics for organizational impact. It's that business application of the learning that is so critical and enables you with so many opportunities when you can communicate and articulate that to prospective employers as well, because that's what they're looking for. So it is online. It is 100% online, the program. We recommend that you look at more than 20 hours a week or so. There is a blend of synchronous and asynchronous learning, meaning that there are live sessions with the assigned facilitator each week. They are live and you can interact and ask questions that are pertinent to yourself. They are also recorded if you can't attend because it's, who knows, it might be your birthday. And the last thing you want to do is attend a live session. You can obviously digest them at a time that suits you, with the majority of learning being asynchronous. So it is designed to fit in with you more so than you fitting in with a university timetable. Most of the learners are working either full or part-time, especially, and that is why it's designed to fit around those other priorities that you have. The key to it, though, is discipline and leaning on the supports that are provided. So you do have a range of supports. There's the facilitator, obviously, that hosts those live sessions per week. There is also a success team enabling you to have a source in which to lean on to say, look, I'm struggling to find ways to fit this in. And, through some hard questions, they might find out that you've just started a Netflix series and you need to push that to one side to fit in the studies, who knows? But it is about showing up. And when I say showing up, one thing that I always recommend is that after a long day's work, sometimes when you get home and you have your dinner or whatever, the last thing you feel like doing is logging on to doing some study. Showing up at that point is critical. And it might be that you log on for 10 minutes and you think, no, I'm exhausted, I can't do it tonight, I'll pick it up fresh tomorrow. That's not a problem. But logging on that 10 minutes might turn into an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you've got so much more done than what you thought of when you were sitting there watching Netflix thinking I should be studying. So it is about that discipline, and you'll get a lot of supports in structuring that plan for yourself, though. Regarding the curriculum overview, obviously we've gone through a lot of that already. You do earn a certificate from the London School of Economics and Political Science. But James, can you talk us through how the curriculum is designed to help learners not just build technical skills, but also feel confident that they can apply them in a job sense? I've kind of touched on that already, but if you've got anything more to add.
Yes. So, well, indeed, it's a blend of the technical competencies. I mean, like I said, of course, your Gen AI, I mean, here it's only going to get better and more accurate over time. One still needs that technical competence to be able to do sense checks, reality checks, or sanity checks of any output of code. So we do have this sort of progressive skills development throughout the career accelerator, of course, beginning with the basics, the foundation, the core, data, analytical concepts, as well as statistical thinking. But technical mastery, I'd say, it is still important. It's just that we don't want to focus exclusively on it. So as Daniel mentioned, be exposed to programming applications, Python, SQL, R, briefly in course 3, but all very much considered within a sort of business context to showcase the real world applicability. We already mentioned, but I think to re-emphasize the importance of the communication skills, to complement those technical skills on the data visualization and storytelling. And throughout the program, say Daniel mentioned, no exams. There'll be various tasks, assignments, allowing you to develop a portfolio such that these are projects, real world projects that could serve as, let's say, a proof of competency for prospective employers at interview. On the confidence building front, so perhaps defer a bit to Fred on the career coaching, but just briefly, the one-to-one career coaching is a major aspect of this program to provide that sort of personalized guidance. As Daniel mentioned, exclusively an online program, although our in-person reception when you complete this. Fully online, so remote collaboration, and there'll be people from many different backgrounds in different geographic locations from many different industries. So it's a real living, breathing ecosystem of different skill sets. You'll also have access to your success managers for technical guidance, career coaches for your professional development, and indeed that market relevant certification, hence the LSE pedigree. Put that on your CV. That's likely to open doors up for interviews, and then you come with your portfolio projects and then succeed and get the job of your dreams, as many of our successful career accelerator superstars have done.
That's exactly right. Thank you, James. And we'll touch now on the employer project and then the coaching. Finally, we'll go through some of the aspects of entry criteria, cost, payment plans, all those sorts of things. But just a reminder for everyone, if you've got any questions for the panel or myself, please pop them in the Q&A. We're going to get to them very, very shortly. On to the next slide, and I'm going to go straight to John. With this one, I've explained how there are no exams in the program, that learners instead build a portfolio of evidence throughout the learning, through their submissions of practical assignments and the like. And it culminates in a really unique offering in terms of engaging with industry on a real live project. John, I guess from your perspective, what made Vantage want to partner with the LSE Data Analytics Career Accelerator? And if you can share, what is an example of a project that learners are working on?
Yeah, sure, Daniel. Thanks very much. I think there's a number of reasons we're excited to partner with this program. From first point of view, we philosophically really believe in what this program is working to do for the participants of the program. And you've heard this all quite a bit from Dr. James, but I can't just, would love to emphasize the importance of everything that's been said in terms of understanding the technologies and learning those different skill sets, which is important, but really the emphasis on communication, the emphasis on problem solving, the emphasis on combining certainly a world-class certification, but with real world experience on top of that as well. That combination is I think, really important in any scenario, and more critical as we move forward. So I think just the way the program is set up, philosophically for us is the way to kind of enable individuals and teams and businesses the like. We also, just from that point of view, I mean, that is also how we think about, plan, execute, and invest in learning and development internally ourselves, right? So it's very much, when we come to the conversations and we're working through whatever the project might be, or how to improve things, et cetera. It's very much alignment in terms of how the program is set up and the points raised so far. today. So, and then from also there's obviously a lot of other direct benefits. Having access to being able to engage in participants of the program. Give us access to great talented people. That come out of the program with really great skills, as Dr. James has highlighted as well, and that's a fantastic benefit to be able to engage with those individuals and potentially have them join our team or potentially introduce them to our clients as well. And then there is a real world project behind it, and that project is, and I emphasize this when we talk to the cohorts as well. We're working on that project with clients. Your clients are using the information that we are gathering from the teams and what the teams are putting forward. That is actually being put into place and is being used on an ongoing basis with clients and being discussed with prospective clients in the marketplace. So there is, the benefit as well. We've talked to a number of our clients too, and actually in a conversation last week, it came up again. How's that program going, and other people from that program that might be interested in talking to, those sorts of conversations are continuing to grow. So there's a lot of benefits. I think I just ran through there, but and certainly those benefits I think exist, and quite rightly so, to the entire ecosystem. So our clients are benefiting. Certainly, we're benefiting. The team, the individual participants are benefiting. The program is benefiting, and we certainly are big believers that that should be the case. In terms of the project, and there's a number of as you mentioned, we talked about at the beginning. We work really across different sectors. One of the projects we've decided to kind of and collaborated with the program to enable is one that focuses on equity valuations or stock prices and movements around earnings, and it really focuses in on trying to come up with a strategy that will enable strong returns and strong risk-adjusted returns, based off of earnings reports and stock movements around that. We've actually, there's a lot of ways to expand that project, as well as there's a lot of things to learn and to take out of that project that can be applied to other industries. So while it is a financial services focused project, it does have, I think, applicability that we talked through with the participants cohorts, to other industries as well. The reason we selected it, to start, and the reason we really believe it's a positive project to start with is because in a 6-week project, you want to create something that, of course, is obtainable. It's a challenge, but it's also feasible to get something out that is useful to the client, but also marketable for the team members to be able to bring to an interview and speak to Dr. James's point. It's much more, certification from a top university is incredibly powerful. If you can combine that with a real world, here's what we worked on, here's how it worked, here's what didn't go well, here's what did go well, and be able to communicate that out. I mean, that's a slam dunk from an interview process as well. So I can happy to go into more details of that project, but it's really that's kind of the basics of it. And the nice thing is it's very extendable as well, and we've been having some of those conversations about how that could extend into deeper and deeper use cases within the kind of financial services space, and then also how it might be applicable to other industries too.
I love hearing that, and inspired to hear also that your clients are actually interested in how's the program going. The outcomes are great. That's really, really interesting, and thank you for giving that overview. It is a very, very unique aspect to the Career Accelerator model, and the cornerstone really of applying learning in a real world sense for the benefit of the learner, obviously in your case for the benefit of the industry partner as well. Let's talk about outcomes and career and the career coaching framework, I guess. So I might hand over to Fred rather than me talk through some of this, and I've got a question for Fred as well. But the framework of coaching isn't just obviously subjected or contain resume overviews and things like that. Can you paint a picture for the audience as to what the career coaching aspects involve and the benefit for the learners?
Yeah, yes, of course, Daniel. Well, I think first off, coaching in every case is unique to the individual, so it's customized to everybody's particular situation. I would say one of the key values is anyone dealing with complex decisions. The idea that you have a sounding board, that you can use the space in the coaching sessions to make decisions around the sectors that you want to consider. Let's say even the nature of the work that you want to do in the future, the locations, so the details around the big decisions in your life that you're facing when you look at coaching. And obviously we've got, we generally, if one looks at the kind of typical goals that people come with, we've got people starting their careers. So that would be, I need to start with a job, which the coach then works with from the beginning. And then you've also got people who are changing their careers, who are moving into data analytics, for example, from other fields. And then you've got the career advances. So we tend to categorize people very, very broadly speaking into those three areas. So people who are already working with data, who are considering a promotion or leadership positions. So, and I think it also comes back to the communication issue. One of the biggest challenges most people have on when you are developing new skills and when you're repositioning and you're targeting a new field or you're redoing your branding, and it's the communication aspect. What am I communicating about myself? What I used to communicate might not be effective going forward. So the coaches are very good at going through the detail of the branding. I would say usually it's a rebranding or an update of your branding. And when we use the word branding from a career coach point of view, it's primarily your CV, your LinkedIn profile, the portfolio that you develop from the projects done on the course, and any other projects you might have. So how do you communicate when you've developed your skills? How do you convey confidence? How do you communicate what your offering is to potential employers? That's, I would say, probably in a nutshell what the career coaching entails. But as I said, I think the key thing to remember, it's everyone is different, and the coach would always start with a process where there's we need to fully understand what the individual's goals are. So there's defining SMART goals for the individual is part of the process. We do a bit of a stock take on where you're at the moment. So what are your goals? Where are you heading? What do you want to achieve? What industries, what sectors you want to consider? We look at the timing of when you want to achieve those goals. Then we start with a bit of a stock take. It could be personality exercises. It could be some clear understanding of your talents, your skills, your strengths, work experience, transferable skills. So I think the biggest value from having a career coach is having a structured, systematic approach to this challenge of shifting or changing careers or moving up in a job. Then obviously once we have a sense of where you're going, we've got a sense of what you've got, as in the initial stock take. We agree on steps that need to be taken, as in what's the gap. We look at the gap, and then we together agree on the steps that need to be taken to achieve your goals. And the coaching process generally, we're looking at ideally a coaching session a month. So you've usually got more than enough support over a 12-month period. So the program itself and then beyond the completion of the course. Yeah, I think, Daniel, I hope that answers your key question there.
Very, very much so. And it's a great insight into the benefit, the true benefit. I mean, if someone was to purchase that amount of career coaching for oneself, it would be very, very expensive. But it's about that personalized approach for each individual's circumstances and intended outcomes. Just from a practical sense, you meet your coach once a month, and we learn as well. We used to offer the coaching for the duration of the program, but it's often a case of you dedicating yourself to learning during the program and then being in a position to apply for roles thereafter. So we've extended that career coaching for another 6 months post the program. So you'll have one-on-one coaching once a month with your career coach, either until you obtain your intended outcome, or for 6 months following the completion of the program. It is true value. So you're obtaining skills that are highly relevant for workplaces and employers. You're getting a coach to help you make them shine, if I can term it that way, your brand, as Fred so well put it. ensuring that your application, but your ability to convey your skills is at the top of the heap. I've got some more slides to get through, but we do have a number of questions and I am conscious of time as well. I'm going to wrap up a few things just by giving a quick overview. We'll come to the questions, and if we need to come back to some next steps and things like that at the end, I will do so. But first and foremost, I just wanted to touch on the admissions criteria. So candidates need to be over the age of 18 years of age and proficient in English, obviously. You need to have an undergraduate degree that contains a quantitative unit of study, or in the absence of that, be able to demonstrate foundational quantitative skills either through relevant education or employment experience. So if someone's been working with data for a while, you've done a boot camp somewhere else, you haven't done a degree, that would be in consideration of entry, because you'd be able to demonstrate the entry criteria in that regard. The application process, sorry, is very, very straightforward. You are required to upload your transcripts of your previous studies and your resume. It is also a requirement of entry to meet with your enrolment advisor. We've got such a friendly team of enrolment advisors that are really there to guide your decision-making process, not tell you what it should be, but they'll ask you a great deal of questions about yourself and your intended outcome, and then obviously fill the gaps of any questions that you may have. In the chat, there will be a link to book a time with your enrolment advisor, and I strongly suggest, if you haven't done so, that you do so, because the intakes are always in high demand. We will certainly reach a peak in this upcoming intake as the most popular of the year, without a doubt. Last but not least, I just wanted to go over the pricing quickly before I get to questions and the payment plans available. With everything involved, all the access to the software, the AI learning track that I'll go in much more depth for those that stick around, and I do have a special offer for those that do stick around to the end as well. The career coaching, everything included is £8,850. And if you're an alumni of LSE, there's a 20% reduction. You have the option of reducing that rate considerably if you pay upfront to the tune of £855, or we do offer interest-free payment plans for our learners. They can be over a 6-month payment plan with a 10% deposit, or longer if you need, through a finance provider that doesn't charge any interest. There's only a £20 application fee, and if you need to speak to your enrolment advisor about that, please book a time once again. So there's nothing more to purchase. There's all of that 12 months of executive style career coaching with the likes of Fred and team, the AI learning track, the certification from LSE, and last but not least, there is the opportunity of extending that in the future towards a postgraduate certificate from LSE, should you wish to take on an additional capstone project that I'll touch on a little bit later. Let's get to some questions. I think we've covered this actually. It was the first question that came through. Data analytics, there's a lot of boot camps out there. There's a lot of Google and Microsoft offering short courses and the like. But someone's asked here, what are the key aspects that differentiate this course from others? I think that's what we've discussed the whole time. If that hasn't answered your question, I'm happy to stick around and answer more so. Amradazra has asked, apologies if the question is premature. With respect to curriculum currently being presented and holding a bachelor's degree in economics, I'm curious as to how this program and its result in certification compare to CQA designation in terms of global recognition and relevance, and particularly given its apparent emphasis on data science. James, I'm going to park that one, or ask you to just touch on that one briefly, and I'll also make a note of that person's name to reach out to them individually afterwards as well.
Well, I mean, the career accelerator model is actually quite a new one, certainly within UK higher education. I think we at LSE, I think we were the second institution to launch career accelerators. And we've seen, well, as Daniel mentioned, demand is very much sort of exceeding really supply of places. And there's clearly employers who've hired our graduates see the value of this career accelerator model. Indeed, and just perhaps broaden that question. I mean, obviously there are countless boot camps and things, etc., online. There's a lot of competition out there. I think our unique selling points for this program. You've got the academic pedigree of the LSE. You put that on your CV. That's going to open up doors. that industry-aligned curriculum, the career coaching, hyper personalized. And I mean, I would say our evidence of success here are our Career Accelerator completers of the past. I think it was a slide 2 or 3 ago where it showed 3 of our alumni coming from very diverse backgrounds and all progressing into the data space.
Wonderful. There's 3 questions that I'm going to group together from Alexis, Amisadra, and MJ. How large are the cohorts? There's also a question I'll come back to, but LSE on, there's a one from MJ regarding LSE online. We cap our learner numbers I mean, it's seasonal as well, as we can't have an infinite amount of career coaches, and we can't have an infinite amount of people like John that offer such valuable learning opportunities through real life industry-based projects. So around that 150 to 180 is a cap that we'll stop enrolments at. We always are oversubscribed with applications, many more than the 180 or so that we can take. But the reason we cap our numbers is for your learning experience. If we were to open it up for 300 or 400 learners globally, as I'm sure we could per presentation, it would mean that we may need to have 15 or 20 learners on a project team and lessen your roles and responsibilities within that project. That's not what it's about. It's about giving you the learning opportunities and the real world experience that you so richly deserve, and a premium support service such as Fred and others enabling that. MJ's asked, he's mentioned his background in SEO. MJ, I think you'll be perfect for the program and benefit greatly from it. But Dr. Abdi, he's mentioned here, however, before enrolling, my question is, does this certification genuinely add credibility to one's profile, given that it states LSE online and may be perceived somewhat differently to listing LSE directly?
Can I perhaps take that one? Well, I mean, at LSE, we are all about educating for global impact. And we, in recent years, have been very much proactive in extending beyond our core, so let's say your campus-based programs of like undergraduate and postgraduate degrees. And we are trying to minimize barriers and maximize access to an LSE curriculum. And so particularly, let's say, for working professionals wanting to perhaps reorient, upskill and enter sort of the data space, this product, I don't think of education as a product, but or as a credential, it very much serves that purpose. And so it's very distinct from your standard, let's say, your 3-year, your bachelor's degree with the strong industry focus. Of course, combined with the excellent career coaching, that's setting you up for the maximum chance of success in the job market. So, of course, there's the knowledge set, but it's not just learning for learning's sake. It's that practical application. And again, I would say our evidence of this is our many successful Career Accelerator completers, and we expect many more in the months and years ahead.
Excellent, thank you. Let's rip through some quick ones. Bilal, no, there is assignment submission due dates, and for anyone asking, the flexibility of delivery over a longer range. And the reason for that is that you go through as a cohort, you mix and very closely work with other learners. There's a very inclusive environment, even though it's online. You'll attend a graduation ceremony and the like together, but it's designed for you to all arrive at the industry project at the same time, so you can participate in that as well. Catherine's asked, what previous knowledge of SQL, Python, and R do you need? None. You only need a working knowledge of Excel to commence course 1. The rest will be taught, Catherine. So I suggest you book a time with your enrolment advisor.
Daniel, can I just jump in
please.
to add to that? So I suspect this is quite a common concern across many tuning in about they might feel a little bit apprehensive about starting this program if they think they're coming from zero knowledge of things like SQL, Python, R, Tableau, etc. And I'd like to allay any concerns. We pride ourselves on being as accessible as possible with this program. We assume no prior knowledge. Inevitably, there'll be some Career Accelerator learners who will have some previous exposure. Inevitably, it's quite a steep learning curve, but I would say this is a program which is accessible to everyone, and don't be concerned with, let's say, limited prior quantitative background. An analogy I like to give is it's like you're learning to ride a bike or to drive a car. In principle, I think everyone pretty much should be able to master those skills. You imagine the first time you sat on a bike or your first driving lesson, you were probably filled with fear, but it's skills which people can pick up. And I would say, developing your statistical analytical skills, there really should be no barriers to that. Excellent academic mentors throughout the program, and of course yourselves. It's very much a collaborative program, be it online, but you'll be helping each other out as you progress. So please don't treat any or no prior exposure to the software as a barrier to entry. We say start from the very basics.
Perfect. And I think that's a really good segue. Sam, in the background, I'm going to ask that we do a poll, and I think what James has said is perfect there to segue into what are your biggest concerns about joining. Is it the time commitment? Is it that roughly 20 hours or so per week? Is it the financial cost? Is it the lack of technical experience, as James just went through? Or are you uncertain about career transition or success? If we can get you to pop in your answer to one of those 4 options there, we'll have a look and allay some of those fears. Whilst we're just waiting on the answers to come through, we'll get to another couple of quick questions. Eric has asked about salaries. It does vary, but John, are you recognising any industry trends towards salary uplift and things like that? Everyone's different. There's entry level, there's career changes and advances with different skill sets. But are you noticing any trends in industry relating to salaries for data roles?
Yeah, I think certainly increase, and but I think that increase is more concentrated around, quite frankly, the skills that have been highlighted here that you've heard Dr. James speak about, quite a bit too, right? Again, strong communication skills and an ability to match the skills and the technology to a real life problem, and to be able to use first principles, understanding problem solving to actually solve that problem. So, the skills, have been are certainly valuable, but that next step of how to apply them, and that's where you're getting, I'd say, quite of a rapid growth or increase in salary. So that proven it can't be. I don't think we can kind of say it enough. The ability to kind of show up and say, okay, here's a real world problem I've solved, and to be able to kind of communicate that well as prove that in an interview process, kind of sets you up very, very nicely in that interview process. But for us, from our point of view, Advantage, we have certainly a really important onboarding session, or that the last, kind of call it a week, around a week, and then we're almost immediately getting people involved in projects and similar ways that I think this program is set up to give them opportunities to show that they can apply their skill sets that they're coming in with to real world scenarios. And again, so I think in general, the answer to your question is certainly yes. And with, I'd say, more of an emphasis on not only do I know SQL, do I know Python? That's yes, fantastic, and that's a good starting point. Can I apply that to real world scenarios? Can I apply that problem solving? Can I communicate that well to my internal teams, to my clients? Those skills that have been touched on here are the skills that are driving that growth even more substantially.
Exactly. That's a really well put response to that. They're in demand, hence the price goes, or the wages certainly go up. We'll just have a look at the poll. It's pretty even, actually. Time is always a barrier for many. Financial costs are a barrier for many, obviously, that we try and overcome through the interest-free payment plans that we have. But it's also about you measuring your return on investment. Is your career change potentially, or the advancement of one's career, or even the commencement of one's career, accelerating past those that don't have these types of skills, going to pay you back tenfold, or whatever it might be, is your ROI? And I think the answer is certainly yes. Technical skills have been addressed by James, especially an uncertain career transition. We do that with the coaching. So many of our learners have made that leap from somewhat aligned industries or somewhat not aligned backgrounds into data analytics. Just for everyone's benefit, we've only got 3 minutes left with the panel. I'm going to stick around longer and get through every question. And someone's asked me to go through the fees again. I'll go through the fees, and I've got that special offer as well. I might just go to one or two more questions if we've got time. David, thank you for waiting. Is career support throughout the course dates and beyond? At what point does the job search begin? I suppose advice would be tailored to each individual's existing CV. Fred, to round this off with the 3 minutes that we've got, it's not uncommon for learners to be applying for roles during the program, but is there any advice, I guess, for David's specific question as to when that may occur?
Yes, Daniel, I think, as I mentioned in the beginning or early on, everyone is unique and everyone's different. And I think the coach will adjust the program or the structure to in this case, David's particular requirements. So I think if David, again, often it's, the course is intense. It depends if he's working as well and he's doing the course and he's like, we all have private lives and commitments, family commitments, etc. The ability to fit in put in the work and the time and the effort to do a job search. Again, so it depends on the individual's capacity to do that. But if that's an important thing that he wants to pursue early on, it's definitely possible to do. He may not have, normally we only start looking at portfolio or structuring of portfolios using the projects completed on the course. Obviously, once the projects are completed, you can start adding them to a portfolio. But there's nothing stopping him with a coach agreeing to update and optimize his CV and optimize his LinkedIn profile and to start the networking process. In fact, we recommend to everyone when you're doing this, let's say when you're looking at career and career development, your network is your critical thing to build and expand. And LinkedIn is usually the way you connect with other people in your network. So that's definitely possible in David's case. And again, as I said, in each case is treated or managed sort of customized basis.
Exactly. Brilliant. I'm going to ask James a final question before I thank the panel. Someone has asked about events. We had an event at LSE recently for graduates. For the benefit of the audience, we do host many alumni events in masterclasses online as well. And I do host webinars similar to this with current or past learners speaking of their experience. But James, what was the event like?
Fantastic. So, about roughly once a term, we host an evening reception on campus at LSE. And travel expenses will be on your part, but it's a great opportunity to celebrate the successes of those who've completed the career Accelerator. And for many, it's their first time to actually meet their peers at face-to-face, whereas they've gone through a 6-month program exclusively online, but to actually connect at the LSE campus here. It's a very nice way to round off the program.
Wonderful. For everyone, I'm going to stick around and answer more questions, give you a more overview, and I've got a special offer in the first 2 minutes of this. But for Fred, thank you ever so kindly. As always, your insights into the value of what you do in terms of coaching people towards their intended outcome is always inspirational. John, having your perspective from an industry partner and industry project overview was invaluable. I much appreciate your time. And as always, Dr. James Abdi, your enthusiasm is infectious. Your passion for this program is also, and we thank you for your time as always.
Pleasure. I'm happy to stay around for a few more questions if there are any which are relevant.
Certainly, if you've got time, that's certainly not a problem whatsoever. In fact, there is one right up the top. I'll say towards there's one specific. As someone who greatly admires your work thoroughly and enjoyed your book on applied modelling and prediction, could you elaborate on your role within the program, particularly in relation to the projects and curriculum?
That's absolutely well. Thank you very much for the book shout out for that one. This is Analytics, Applied Modelling and Prediction. My first and only book, although I'm working on the second book at present. Just myself, it's many academic colleagues as well. So we provide, let's say, sort of the academic direction of the program. So the entire curriculum was a joint venture between the LSE and Fourth Rev, and many industry experts had their input as well. But obviously, as we are sort of LSE branded, clearly LSE has to have academic oversight to make sure that there is sufficient academic rigor of the program. But again, stress, it's not, should not treat this purely as a dry academic credential per se. We very much are demand driven rather than supply driven. And we think a great strength of this program is the blend, so hopefully the optimal mix of that academic pedigree, but also that industry relevance. And so it's to make you as marketable as possible to the job marketplace. And if I may, I just quickly noted the results of that poll. And clearly, we're talking about data analytics. I just took a quick screenshot at my end. So if I may just quickly run through the four criteria or the four possible factors which were the biggest concern. So time commitment, we emphasize the flexibility of this program. It is online, so you can fit it around your work or personal commitments. Admittedly, and I don't think we should shy away from this, it is important to be disciplined with your time management, and especially if you are pursuing this alongside, let's say, full-time work or caring responsibilities, juggling it all, one needs to keep on top of things. However, there is a lot of flexibility about when you actually do the study. Clearly, there'll be people in many different time zones, and we designed this with maximum flexibility in mind. Secondly, which was the Moodle response, financial cost. Now, I don't mean to belittle the importance of money here, but view this not so much as a cost, but as an investment in you, in your human capital, to help you get that job of your dreams afterwards. And if you take a long-term view, and I appreciate your financial decisions are often viewed more with a short-term lens, but I think about, if you think about your expected lifetime career earnings from this point on, and then put the cost or investment of this program into that perspective, I think it really does put it in a sense of proportion. And as Daniel mentioned, the various flexible payment options available. The lack of technical experience, I did touch on it earlier, but just to reiterate, we assume no prior knowledge, albeit inevitably the fact that all of you are tuning into this means at least you have some interest in the data space, and I presume you've done at least a little bit of research into the kinds of technical competencies which may be required. But we are very supportive. We assume zero prior knowledge. Of course, those coming in with zero knowledge, it's a steeper climb, particularly in that first course, but it's very much achievable, provided you're willing to put in that time effort. That effort will very much be rewarded. And the fourth one was the uncertain career transition success. Clearly, we live in a world of uncertainty. Allegedly, it was death and taxes are the only two certainties in life. So when faced with uncertainty, what we want to do is tame it and skew the odds in our favor. And while no one here on the call can guarantee the career outcomes at the end of this year with a 100% certainty, but it's about skewing the probabilities in your favor. And by doing this program, you're going to be maximizing your chance of success. Again, we do have data effectively to back this up with the excellent career transitions and promotions and extensions through our accelerators who've completed to date.
It's an amazing array of success stories we have. And Kelly's actually got a really good question I'm going to touch on next. Not only are the career outcomes inspiring, and if you do go onto YouTube, search 4th Rev, there's literally dozens of webinars that I've hosted and others have hosted with successful graduates that have obtained inspiring outcomes. Sometimes it's the application of learning stories that are just as inspiring. Now, I'm guilty of mentioning this often, but it is so inspiring to me. It was one of our very first Career Accelerator learners back in 2022 who was in transport logistics for the Red Cross. Ted, he learned through the application of his learning through the program to overlay his model of analysing historical conflicts in Africa. What he then was able to do for the Red Cross was overlay that modelling on emerging conflicts and recommend to the Red Cross, based on data analysis and predictions, where they may need medical supplies ahead of time, which is a game changer, a lifesaver, because the Red Cross potentially have a way of having medical supplies in a place they need them before they need them to have them there at the most pertinent time. But as they also said, it was also important for them to then be able to not have to transport supplies and put their own teams in harm's way through trying to get them there during conflict. I think sometimes it's the application of learning that's equally as inspiring as the career outcomes, but we're all here for career outcomes. Kelly's got a question, and I think it's a great question. Considering there will be a mix of those with stronger background for career advancement and those that are career changes with no technical background, how does a professional project unfold? Will those with less technical background be able to contribute or keep up? It is a fantastic question. And John, I might throw to you in a moment regarding that mix of skills within a project team, but that's the same as real life. It's the same as a workplace where you've got interns and you've got senior leaders and things like that on a project team. It's designed to be that way. It's designed for you to also have a role within a team, potentially to take a lead or to support someone. Or we are very strategic as to how we put the teams together of 5 or 6 learners. We don't want 5 accountants together. They'll all come up with a similar outcome. A variety of experience levels, a variety of skills, and sometimes even a variety of geography makes for a really rich learning experience. Is that what you've witnessed throughout the teams that you've worked with, John, on the industry projects?
Yeah, it's a great question, and Daniel, it's a great point you mentioned there too. Um, we really haven't noticed any sort of I would say a drop off from one team member to the other. The teams, I know they work really very very closely with the Fourth Rev coaching as well, and I'm sure that's a big part of this. But when they present, when they talk about their findings, it's really well communicated, really across the team. So to your point, you're going to run into this scenario in any team across any organization, across kind of any state, any point in time of your career. And so I think it's actually very very natural to have that. But I'll just say from our point of view, from the presentations and the communication from the teams, that's been really really well kind of managed by the teams and coached by Fourth Rev. And I think that even just leans further into, that is another, kind of really important skill to be able to present and show employers and to really be able to, my hope is, that those team members are talking about that in their interview process, because it is a really great thing to talk about in the interview process and show employers that, that collaboration, is, and that they are good at that kind of collaboration and that kind of communication. So overall, we've seen that to be a success, if you will, that diverse background to be able to create better outcomes, if you will, just generally, and certainly through the projects we've been working on with the Accelerator program, that shines through, and we certainly haven't seen any negatives there, and we've seen a lot of positives to it. And like you said, I hope that is benefiting, as it should, the participants, as they further into interviews and into their career path as well, because it's a great skill to have.
Exactly. Thank you. And for those that are still here, there is an early application offer available to those as well. And part of that is having your first choice of industry project that is available. So for those that apply and secure their placement by the 22nd, I'll just bring it up so I'm making sure I get this correct. You will obtain a consideration on here it is, priority project access. So for those that secure their placements before the date is here, I was right, the 22nd of August, we've only got 20 placements available. They will also have choice of industry project at the end, and a financial consideration to take into account as well. There's a question here regarding internships. Is there an internship available through LSE for the duration during the program or after? No, is the short question. However, how do I term this? We would be encouraging you through this rigorous program to lift your eyes toward the horizon a little, if I can term it that way, through the coaching, through the learning outcomes and the real relevant experience. Internships, I think, maybe even a little bit beneath the graduates of the program. I think you'd be aiming for full-time roles in industry, and have no reason that you wouldn't be able to obtain that either. Is that a fair way I've put that, James?
I think it's very, very nicely put. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't sure if I was being diplomatic enough. So, Iram, it's a really, really common question. Do we provide internships? No, we don't, because we're dealing with a cohort of learners and networking opportunities and coaching that will enable you to achieve roles that are in advance of an internship. Is there a pass rate of the course? James, it's 80% from memory. I haven't been involved in the nitty gritty for.
We have well, we model it on our internal programs. So there are so things are percentage graded. Just trying to remember myself. In the UK system, we tend to call 40% a pass at undergraduate level, 50% at postgraduate. If I may just link to that, and Daniel did mention for those still about an LSE postgraduate certificate in data analytics as like an optional add-on, just 'cause it links to the grading criteria. So, so we've mentioned the Career Accelerator product, as you've seen, the 3 courses plus the employer project, and many you stop there. But we actually launched earlier this year, and we've just concluded our first cohort at for an additional fee, admittedly, but as an optional add-on, you can almost upgrade your Career Accelerator to register for an LSE postgraduate certificate in data analytics. For that we have put in an eligibility criteria on grading. I think it's a 65% threshold average across your previous courses to be eligible to participate in that postgraduate certificate. But grading scales, I mean, anticipating that people from many different countries here will be familiar with many different grading systems. So, frankly, the grading scale itself is fairly immaterial in that better work achieves higher grades. And we, even for the postgraduate certificate itself, that only has a pass fail sort of classification applied to it. But don't fixate too much on grades per se. It's more about the skill set that you are acquiring and going to market, having completed the data analytics career accelerator. That's what's going to have the impact with prospective employers.
Yeah, and it's a very unique offering, the postgraduate certificate. For those that aren't aware, that's the equivalent of 1/3 of a master's. It is a level 7 postgraduate qualification offered. What often happens, and the way we've designed it, is for those that finish the Career Accelerator, often then working diligently to and being supported in obtaining your career outcome. Once that's obtained, then there may be the option of coming back to do a capstone industry-based learning opportunity or project with a dissertation attached to then obtain that level 7 qualification from LSE. We often get asked, James, if that can contribute towards a full master's. Is that something that is available, or is that in consideration for the learners?
Great question. So to be clear, the Career Accelerator, as we've been discussing in this session, so this is not credit bearing per se. However, if you were to progress to the LSE postgraduate certificate in data analytics, basically we take your marks from courses 1, 2, 3, and the employer project. We sort of then convert them into sort of credits in the LSE system, and then you would then undertake an individual piece of research with an LSE faculty member as a supervisor. For example, I was one, as a few colleagues of mine also involved, and then you have a 3-month window to complete, if you like, a mini dissertation. Now, in terms of progression to a full master's degree, so it's not the case that you can then sort of convert, let's say, 1/3 of a master's into a third and just do another 2/3. The postgrad certificate is a standalone credential, but admission to master's degrees, inevitably, it's always competitive entry at LSE and other, all universities really globally, and the elite ones who are super competitive. But by doing either just the Career Accelerator or with the add-on postgrad certificate, I think it's fair to say you would have a competitive edge. That's a sort of legally, I think, sufficiently vague way of putting it, but a competitive edge in the application process. So for those who are thinking, if your ultimate goal is a full master's degree, whether in the UK or elsewhere around the world, by doing this Career Accelerator program, that will really strengthen your application, clearly, if you're looking for a master's degree in sort of the data space.
Wonderful, great explanation. Svetlana's got a question here that I won't go through because it's very personal to her. But Svetlana, I'm actually going to take note of that question and reach out directly. There's a new program that we run with LSE that I'd probably like to discuss both programs with you to ensure that you have an opportunity of making the best decision for what you're intending to achieve. It sounds quite aligned with either. Fahim's asked, What's the, according to statistics, 87.5% of our learners obtain their intended career outcome within 6 months of completing the Career Accelerator. Bearing in mind, that's the people that that have self-nominated what that outcome is. Some just want to apply the learning to their roles. Like Ted, the example I gave for the Red Cross, for example. He wasn't seeking a career outcome, but we're really, really proud 87.5% obtain that within 6 months. Thank you for him for that question. Someone wants me to go over the costs again, which I'm more than happy to do so. So 8,850, everything included, including the coaching, the access to the event, and also the software in which you'll access during the program. If you choose to pay up front, there's an £855 reduction to those fees available. Or there are interest-free payment plans over 6 months with a 10% deposit. Or if you need longer, we've got up to 24 months available through our trusted partner in StepX that provide you an interest-free loan with only a £20 application fee. There's still the 10% deposit. So about £300 a month over the 24 months can get you underway and studying, obviously, and reaping the rewards of that benefit ahead of that time. It's most popular for people to pay up front to obtain that fee reduction, or over that 6-month plan to ensure that your payments conclude at the end of the program as well. Next question. Separate from the improvements for your career, as a prospective student in Masters of Finance or Masters of Finance and Economics, does this program help at all with my journey with LSE? You briefly mentioned its connection with a master's degree. I think we've just touched on that specifically. So yes, it does in that regard, and especially with the postgraduate certificate component available now as well. Nakuru's asked, what's the maximum months? I've just gone over that. The maximum is 24 months that we can pay. Is the cost for the additional course for level 7 certificate? I'd have to double check. I think it's £2,000, James.
Ish, yes.
We'll send some information.
It's an investment.
Well, exactly. It's certainly not as much, or is it? It's more self-paced also and self-directed than the Career Accelerator. It is different, but it is certainly that certification, which I think is the first of its kind from LSE Online. Is that right, James?
It's because it's kind of that's LSE in it, and as some people may know, within the higher education sector, things can be very sclerotic, and it's a very bureaucratic, and there's countless committees that things need to go through to get approved. So it was a long journey to get to launch, but say we've just we had our first cohort. They began in March. They submitted in June for that 3-month window. And I think we just had their provisional grades released quite recently, and we're looking towards cohort 2 later in the year.
First of its kind. I wasn't sure that was the case across the whole uni. That is something that I'm very proud of, actually. And congrats on all the work that you did in assisting us get to that point. Lastly, and Anonymous has also asked, 19 with no bachelor's degree, no experience in this industry, however, completed A-levels in biology, chemistry, and mathematics. Would this meet criteria? That may be challenging, but we would like to support you in ways in which you can meet the criteria. So I think the best thing to do would be to book a time with your enrolment advisor. Say that you spoke to Daniel and Dr. James Abdi on the webinar, and that we'll provide you a pathway in which to achieve this. And it may be through some other LSE courses that can help you as a stepping stone towards. Is there a brochure for the PG cert? If you can pop your name in the chat, I'll send it directly to you. Absolutely. I'm just conscious of both John and James's time. Gentlemen, thank you. I guess for the audience benefit, they've made such a rich investment in their own time today to be a part and to attend and to hear your valuable insights. I guess the next step for them is taking the next step, be that to book a time, be that to submit your application, be that to speak to those around you that may be impacted with you studying for 6 months and not being able to watch Netflix with you and things like that, as I mentioned earlier. It is important to engage family, be it colleagues or friends, that you've got to make some sacrifices over the 6-month period to fit it in, but it's well worth doing for the benefit of your commencement, transition of, or advancement of one's career. James and John, thank you ever so kindly. It's been a most interesting session for everyone, but your insights have been truly valued as well.
A pleasure, and I wish everyone joining every success. Go for it. You're nothing to lose.
I'm just going to copy
Okay,
in
thanks
that.
very much. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Dr. James, and thanks everyone for joining.
Your insights were invaluable, and your contributions also. Thank you, gentlemen. Mo, I've got your email address. I'll send that through. For everyone else, book a time. Please submit your application early, and we look forward to welcoming, supporting, but most of all, celebrating your success in this most unique career accelerator with the London School of Economics and Political Science. Have a great day.
Thanks all. Bye bye.
Cheers, everyone.